Stephen heads up the managed services solution, and as I said, Stephen is going to talk to us about our remote managed services and why this solution is the ideal fit for this new space that we find ourselves in. Okay, where does Stephen know that going on? He's not going to come here. Okay, so about 7 years ago, when he started his career, he spent about 7 years in the UK. He worked for global organizations. He's gained some substantial international experience during this time. Then 12 years ago, Stephen joined First Technology. 2 years after that, 10 years ago, he started up the remote managed services that he's going to be talking about now. He started with 2 staff members. Today he's got 80 staff members in this specific space. Okay? So 10 years later, he provides services to our clients around South Africa. And in actual fact, not just around South Africa. We deem ourselves a global company, but we're global in that we will follow our clients globally to where they need to go. So if we've got somebody in Australia, which we have got a number of sites in Australia that we're supporting in Australia. So that's really cool. And it's really nice that you've grown the business like that. So we've seen substantial value in that. When I had a look at Stephen's CV, the other interesting thing I saw was when he finished his stint in the UK, he decided to resign. And this, Oliver, I'm going to take the mic. I'm going to do the same thing. Okay? He took a 7 month sabbatical. Okay? Oliver's not boss. Okay? In any case, he took a 7 month sabbatical and he travelled the world. He saw 12 countries in that 7 months. So I think who wouldn't like to do that? I think that's pretty cool. As you can see, he's an avid sportsman, not just watching sport, but you can see he's physically equipped to do the sport as well. He enjoys his running, and coming from KZN, I don't think he had a choice, but he had to try and do that little short marathon. So he did that Comrades Marathon once up and once down. So that I think that's a huge achievement, and it's a lot of a mind game. But in any case, on that, Stephen, if you can come up and present us. Thank you.
How's it, guys? Good to be here. Thanks for the introduction, Patrick. I'm certainly not going to bore you with death by PowerPoint today. I've literally only got 5 to 6 slides, with a lot of emphasis on the last slide. Okay, I think if you take anything away from me today, it's on the last slide, and we'll spend some time on that. So what I'm also not going to do is try to predict the future. Okay, I think there's a lot of that happening already at the moment. I think technology is absolutely playing its part. I just feel the best thing we can do right now in this time of uncertainty is look back over this year. There is so much we can learn, the way we could adapt or couldn't adapt. What did we do wrong? What does that mean for us in the time coming up in the future? So it's not about predicting, and that's why I like the play on the word navigating. So use what we've learned, use what we know, and let's get our way around these obstacles that may come up. It's very uncertain and will continue to be. So I think in that space, a managed service is often your reliable support engine. It's your go-to if you need help. It's always on. These types of relationships that we've had with our customers has been absolutely key to helping us navigate things we don't know that are going to happen. So I think the main message is put yourself in a good space, use information around you to make good decisions. And we can absolutely help you do that within the First Technology Group. It doesn't necessarily just have to be my team. Okay, so just a bit about us. I've literally got 2 slides on this, and we'll move on. I'm very proud of the story, and obviously, as Patrick mentioned, it's been a journey. The one thing that's really standing out right now, and a lot of people talk about it, yes, we've got a very big technical team, it's 80 staff. It's actually less about the number of staff and more about how did we get there. I think it's been a journey. Yes, it's been 10 years. We didn't get things right all the time, but absolutely, one thing I think we've done consistently is listen to our customers. We wouldn't get it to where we are today if we weren't listening, and it absolutely has grown from us learning from all the verticals within the customers that we manage and really applying it back to other customers who can benefit from what we've learned. So think of First Tech as your think tank. What we're seeing on the ground, we understand it, we find creative ways to come back to you with different services, and we evolve with you. So we understand the technology and where it's going to, and when it makes sense, we obviously recommend it to you. So you can see us obviously as your trusted advisor, and we've got to put our mouth where the money is. We've absolutely got to deliver these services. When the times get tough, as we've had this year, and the rule book goes out the window, and we're not looking at contracts, we're just trying to keep you working, absolutely it's testament to the culture of our team. So it's a very big point for me. Just three basics that really I feel is the core of what we do in managed services. Point one is we proactively monitor the critical systems in your environment. We don't have to monitor everything. You can choose what to monitor, and we can focus on that for you. So out of hours, every hour of the year, we have that monitoring in place, and we've got an active team that actually does that for you. So they're not sleeping, waiting for an SMS or a phone call. They are actively providing that out of hours and within workspace. The second thing we do is maintenance. So that's maintenance to your infrastructure, to your hardware, it's to your applications, your operating systems, your servers, your endpoints. We provide a lot of that maintenance on a regular basis, and that's an ongoing conversation. I don't think that's a plug-and-play exercise. It's here to stay, but it's absolutely what we invest a lot of our time and effort in. The third point really is our user support, our end user support, which really talks to the desktop user. It also talks to the infrastructure as well. When the systems breaks or there's alerts that are critical, we respond to that. And the one thing we do differently here is we don't charge you per incident. We don't look at each ticket and put a value to that. It's unlimited. So if we can fix it remotely, it's unlimited. So it gives us the ability to scale for you when you need it, where you couldn't predict it. And I think this exercise we've just gone through this year, particularly around moving into lockdown, is an excellent example of how we absorbed a lot of this pressure. And I'll talk a bit about that now. I think in general I've covered most of the points on here. Just some scale in terms of volume. The amount of endpoints we're managing is around 8,000 end users. It's a hell of a lot across the country, and as Patrick said, into Australia, we've got a couple in London as well. Obviously, it's a number, but it shows you the volume that we're actually looking at and analysing on a daily basis. 2,000 servers, that's whether they're virtual, they're physical, they're public cloud, private cloud. I don't care where they are, we all monitor it. If we can put an agent on that server, whether it's Mac or Windows or Linux, we can do that. So I think the one part that's actually missing from there is our network. And the routers, firewalls, switches, we've got about just over 1,500 of those as well that we're monitoring. So all of the technologies we're very comfortable in, and there's a list of them here. And again, it's what we've based our portfolio on. So I think it's quite a good summary. I'm not going to go through this in every detail, but the main point I want you to take away from this slide is of all our services, we've split it into three areas. The main area I've really focused on initially up until probably about a year ago was our NOC. It really spoke to a lot of your infrastructure, your end user support, the standby, the service desk that we offer, which really brings all these services together. And obviously on-site resources as well. So if you're still needing that people-to-people interaction with your staff and you want the skill too, we're happy to put the right caliber of person on site, and that becomes our problem. We manage that resource, we take care of their pain points. If they leave, we replace them. If they're sick, we put someone else on site. So we handle that pain for you. It's not easy. People want to move, and that's part of their career, but it's absolutely our service to you. So rather, you're not buying a person or personality, but yes, it's important, the relationship side of that. We put the right people on site that fits your business. This is really exciting, the middle part for me, and really has always kind of been there. What we've decided to do is separate it from the traditional, I always call it the poiky pot, where I think services tend to kind of get dumped into one pot and we kind of figure it out from them. What we've done is really try to show where our value is in the security space. So obviously the SOC has been around for a while. We've now just broken into three levels. So level 1, level 2 are your absolute basics. They're not new, not reinventing the wheel here, but there's been some change. If you look at the traditional AV, which is now your next, your NDR, EDR, sorry, and obviously third-party patch management is absolutely critical nowadays. So very, very relevant. Level 3 is quite new, and probably been about 6 to 7 months now we've had our SIEM in place. And there's a technology that really ties a lot of these data sources, these data logs. You can get your hands on a log source. We're happy to tie that into our SIEM, make sense of that. And what I really like in the space of where it's going is it's starting to understand behavior, which is no longer just a human now sitting in front of data trying to make sense of it. You're actually doing a lot of AI behind the scenes and making sense of what our users are actually doing. So the SIEM is extremely exciting, and again, it's 24/7. You can opt to choose 8x5, Monday to Friday. You can have it around the clock if you want, so we've got some packages that talk to that. And obviously the cloud as well. a big talking point. So I'm just going to show you a diagram here, and I'm not trying to be over technical here. It's really a basic layman's term scenario, and this has really been leading up until lockdown. This is the way things were. You had your end user that really, from a support services point of view, that took on patch management and AV, and that's how we protected the device. That user worked within the office, and we like to refer to that as the castle. It was protected by a firewall. You had good infrastructure, you had stability, you had speed, you had all these things that we were used to. And I think when Cyril announced lockdown, we had 4 days to prepare a move to home. And I think with most people, and obviously not for everyone, but a lot of the adoption of 365 in Azure is fairly mature, or was back in February. So we're not saying that was new, it was actually normal. And working from home was also okay. So what was different within March and April and moving into lockdown? It was really the volume, which was the scale that we had to do this at. And I think that posed a massive challenge. So obviously your user now working at home and no one in the office, you really have different security threats that are always there but are being exposed on a major level. And I think mail and phishing and these types of things, given it's global, those attacks were happening now on existing users that normally would have been okay but have maybe distracted at home. So the behavior changed completely. The environment changed completely. Some basic pain points that we obviously noticed were the endpoints weren't positioned to be in a place where you could deal with a lot of this uncertainty, and there was no real out-of-the-box thinking that kind of spoke to how do we deal with stuff we don't know. VPNs, we got asked every single day. We now need to set up users who never traditionally worked from home. So your 365 user, yes, to get mail was fine, but the user needed to get into ACPAC or the finance system. That was a new challenge. So setting up VPNs on clients, the bandwidth and the stability that are obviously known issues. I'm not trying to show you anything here that you don't know. I think it's more the transition and then the scale of it is the point I'm making. So what did we experience this year as a support team? Again, the volume, the amount of users that really relocated to home. And again, it talks to our model, and it was really testing of our model. We've always stood by the fact that you can log as many remote calls as you want, and we'll deal with those. On that scale, we didn't actually plan for that. We had to actually adapt to this quite quickly, and I think those 80 staff, we really got a phone to a person, and really the scripted playbook as it was out the picture. You would normally troubleshoot devices, you'd have information coming back to you that would say why someone's environment is slow, why is a user using too much bandwidth, what application is causing that. At home, it is exactly that. We don't have visibility. So that was really challenging, and we found that our support became very one-on-one. So every user we were dealing with in a very one-on-one engagement, and actually exposed a hell of a lot of other opportunity for our team and obviously our customers to understand that what we do and what we can do. We had on-site engineers who were dedicated to customers. Customers loved the relationship, they were locked into it, they didn't want it to change. We were forced to take them out because of lockdown, you couldn't travel, and customers learned that actually this on-site resource can do 80% of what they normally do remotely. And there was adoption. So I think from that point of view, very good lessons learned. I think that's all good for that one. And then customer challenges. We got asked a hell of a lot, how do we measure our staff? How are you guys doing? And I think for us, we didn't think that would initially be a problem because our staff is measured through the service desk. How many tickets we close, how much time it takes, what the resolution is. It's all very measurable. But for staff that aren't measured, and you can't see them visually, how do you measure them? We've got a great product that we came across called ActiveTrack, which really makes that seamless for you. It really presents a lot of their behaviors, what they work, when they log on and they log off, and tells you where they spend their time. So you can actually learn a hell of a lot. It's scary how much you can learn that we didn't know. And I think through good products like that, it's an absolute win. The traditional PBX, if you went on Skype or Microsoft Teams, you were going to struggle. And I think if your call desk wasn't going to take calls from customers, you'd have to adapt to that. And technology was a major point. Technology that wasn't mobile, we suddenly realized we couldn't get hold of as much volume and assets as we needed, and that became a problem. And obviously the one that we thought to bring today is data and bandwidth became an ongoing issue. So 3G requests and obviously being uncapped Wi-Fi, and what is the quality of that? So a lot of users really did battle that. And again, I know you experienced a lot of this. I'm not highlighting anything that is probably new to you. But this for me was really kind of one of the big eye-openers. It's stuff that we always knew, but it really became so much more prominent. So for home routers that weren't secure, it became, front of mind now. You can almost guarantee the majority of home routers have admin. Your username and password is default. No one thinks to change that. Your AV is now not good enough. Your traditional antivirus is going to wait for a patent file to be sent down, which is a week late from when the incident may have been discovered by your AV provider. The delay is too long, so EDR becomes an absolute necessity in these scenarios to replace it. Patch management again, so from a Microsoft point of view, we can't keep focusing just on patching as a Microsoft topic. We've got to look broader than that, and we've got to look at what our users are using from home, whether it's Chrome or Firefox or whether it's Java. What is the status of that environment or that endpoint? What is the risk of that endpoint? Mail, massive, and again it goes without saying with all the phishing campaigns, and it becomes so easy for these guys. They're just using common knowledge on a global scale to really just get one click out of your user that maybe wasn't thinking properly. I think from that point of view, this is as important to say, well, we realize we can add training to users, but take it a step further and say, well, when they make a mistake, because it's not intentional, when they make a mistake, is the system going to catch the background and obviously deal with that? So this was something as well which is quite new. We took in quite a few new customers that really lastminute.com, we heard you can help us, can you help us? Yes, you can. We'll figure out contracts later. Come on board. We realized that most of the approach that they were being supported by was technology like TeamViewer or VNC. And I'm not saying this is bad technology in the sense that it's not capable. It absolutely is, and it's very good. But is it secure and is it auditable? The agents that we use and we apply to your desktops, I can tell you at any given time who connected to your machine for how long, from where, and it's all in a report if you need it. So from a compliance point of view, we can absolutely have that all in place. So again, it doesn't open up any funnies. It's got MFA by default. We can't use the system without having MFA, so it's protected. Okay, and obviously the endpoints, I think we noticed a lot of customers who didn't have the option of a mobile device, a laptop. They would go home, they'd use the home PC. And that home PC's got freeware, malware, it's got everything you can think of it on there. So I think major security challenges. But what did we do around this? So I think for us it was really understanding what does it mean for us then, because I don't think we're in too much of a different space right now. I think this is still very much in the middle of what is it that we are slowly trying to do. And I think technology is playing a major catch-up. As fast as technology is evolving, they're also behind. I think technology, we need to rely on the right type of technology. So it remains critical. I think it's a good space to be in. I think all I'm saying here with technology is don't get lost on everything shiny. Understand the technology that is right for your business, get the right advice, and make sure that it's a good fit for what your business is about. Working from anywhere is a long-term reality. Let's accept it. And that doesn't necessarily mean everyone's going to stay working from home. I actually believe there's a hybrid model, whether it's flexi time or flexi location. It is part of our future, and I think it's there to stay. Remain agile, absolutely. I think that's the benefits of technology. If you've got the right technology behind you, remain agile and be ready for change. Don't get locked into a product that commits you forever and ever and ever and you can't get out of it. I think at the end of the day, technology uses its value if it's understood and it's got the right spirit. And just everything cloud is not necessarily the right option. And what I'm trying to say there is more specifically, cloud is absolutely what we need to be thinking about. But I think what we're seeing, some customers ask the question and then they backtrack a bit and saying, well, I want to take everything on premise and put it all in the cloud. And I think that is not a bad thing. I'm just saying, has it gone through the right steps of evaluation? So have we actually understood, first of all, what is that impact going to be, and what maybe parts of my business is good for cloud. Some parts, small or big, might be better on premise. So make that decision. Sit in multiple clouds if you need to. But don't just think that by moving my business to the cloud, it's going to be secure as well. I think a lot of people forget that. They actually don't realize that you need still to have backup in place for things that sit in the cloud. When things go wrong in the cloud, it's still your problem. But just don't think to let go, I think, once things are in the cloud, that it's no longer, your issue. So I think that's what we know now, and based on this now, how do we navigate this going forward? And I think some suggestions really are the basics. I'm not getting overcomplicated here. And we're really saying think differently, but simplify. keep things simple. It's easy to get lost in all things technology, and it's good and positive. But simplify and think differently. Point 2 is my favorite, and it's so basic, and the amount of people or companies that we see don't take this. I can't emphasize it enough. It needs to happen. If you don't have a technology roadmap, and it can be simplified, if you're asking yourself the question right now and you're saying, what does that mean? I'm literally saying, get up, get to a whiteboard, get a piece of paper and draw a line through that piece of paper. Split it into 2 levels. So you've got the top level is your vision. That's where you want to go. Maybe you're thinking about migrating to the cloud. Maybe you're not sure, maybe you want to adopt certain hardware, but put it in your vision and then put a timeline to that. The bottom line needs to be all your technology that you currently have. Use that, and a great example here is your networking, so VLANs. So many people have installed your networks, but you haven't split your voice and your data. I think it's common sense through quality of phones and how data works that should be in place. It protects it as well. So I think from that point of view, it's just split the 2 visions. It's 1 page, 12 months. It doesn't have to be 3-5 years, but just make it so that it can change. It doesn't have to be fixed, but have something in place. And a lot of our managed services customers that we manage, we work with them around this topic. And it's absolutely critical that we're both on the same page. Number 3 is work from any. No, sorry, done this one. Identify your strengths and weaknesses. Without doing this, really, how do you know where you need to go and where your risk might be? And we're happy just to help you where you're weak. You know, if that means it's a skill thing or if it's a capacity around support, we can plug into that gap. I don't need to manage everything in your environment. I'm happy just to manage the points that are your pain points. Give us a chance at that and let's see how that works out. If there's value there, let's continue. If there isn't, let's understand why and obviously correct it. But I think the point here is understand against your roadmap where you're weak and what you want to achieve. Yeah, so partner where we don't have skill capacity, adopt a zero trust mentality. I think that's becoming quite common now. If you're not doing that, just don't trust anyone. End of story. You think of your parents, or you know, they want to get a WhatsApp in their phone and they've won R1 million and they're saying, you know, click on this link. Don't trust it. Now, I think ask the question first. Don't click on the link and then ask later. I think an AI has value, but it's not the silver bullet. And I love what AI is doing. I think it's revolutionary and it's absolutely buying us a lot of insights and capability within our technology, but don't think of it as everything. It doesn't resolve all your issues. So use it to what its strengths are, and it is continuing to evolve itself. So I think it's got a part to play, and definitely understand where it can play a part in the business. This is my last slide, and again, just really talks about something that I think, without trying to predict where we're going, give yourself the best chance to weather the storm. If you've got a lot of these basics in place that I'm going to go through now, I really think you are far better set up and suited for change and exposure to any risk than you've ever been before. But I think as I go through this here, just ask yourself what points here on this page you've actually adopted already. And if you have, I'm actually very interested. I struggle to find customers who have really tried to adopt all of this. And this is the basics. I'm not showing you everything you need to do. It's just the basics. So without saying filling out the data, that's your business. Okay? Everything you own or you input into there, that is absolutely 100% your business. You give your staff access to this. When you look at that relationship in that scenario, where's the risk? You realize the extent of your user and how you've given them rights to this data and what type of rights have you given to this data. But when they make mistakes, how do we protect this data and how do we recover? So 2 first things that I want to talk about on this level, or this layer, is backup. So understanding backup, and it's been around forever. I just feel that we've stopped maybe questioning on a broad scale, is my backup sufficient? And ask that question. If I lost my backup, where do I get my second copy? How else do I recover from? Where is that? It doesn't all have to sit in one place. The famous saying, put your eggs in one basket. It's the exact example. So create a second backup off-site to a private data center, or have it to tape even in some cases is relevant. Obviously with that, the recovery time, it needs to be considered too. So I think from that point of view, backup again with Office 365, we all migrate to 365. Is that being backed up? Why not if it isn't? So have we asked that question? So EDR again, so it's fast changing. The landscape, as far as antivirus is concerned, it's often a replacement of your AV. And because of its AI approach, it's zero threats, a zero-day threat as well. And your EDR really looks at behavior. So when it identifies a risk on your endpoint, your user, your server, and it doesn't understand what the fix was, but it doesn't look normal, your EDR plays a big part. And it obviously has the ability to isolate that machine or that device. So think from the network. So think ransomware. You have something monitoring that device in the background. If there is a breach, it'll isolate that device, which is absolutely critical. Okay, patch management, again, a very old conversation, but there's a support partner there in the third-party patching. So as I mentioned earlier, have your third-party patched, your third-party applications patched. It's an ongoing conversation. Again, it's never going to change. This layer for me, the third one, is probably the most critical of a lot of these. The user training, it sometimes feels like a hacker. I just encourage you to go really investigate that, look at things that Mimecast or Cofence are often doing around this space. And it really is critical that if you ask yourself this question, who are the critical risk users in your business? If you've got a blank answer and you don't know and you've got an assumption, you're approaching it the wrong way. So you want to regularly do these mini audits that kind of help you understand which of those users that are not really applying what you've taught them or learned or signed or the basics as to how do we click or not click on them. So I think user training is absolutely critical. Active Directory, your password management. AD, and a great example here, and we see it a lot, is your default domain admin account. Just the word username, administrator, and a password. If you've got that in your environment now, you need to have a plan in place to change it. It might be a big exercise in some companies, it might be small in others, but I just think with password complexity aligned with that, are you actually looking at, do your passwords change on a regular basis? It's absolutely critical, you've got to have that plan in place. And then 2FA, obviously multi-factor authentication, is an absolute default now. Do not bring an application into your business when the user needs access to it. Is that user being verified? You've got to go that extra step and have that in place. Everyone's doing this now, so if you leave that unattended, you kind of got to look at yourself and say, well, what are we missing? The firewall goes without saying. I'm just saying extend your firewall that you mostly have in place to the endpoint. So you have a firewall client that sits on your device, and obviously it ties into the bigger analytics of what's happening on your network. Okay, the last layer is really your mail protection. It just closes the loop here. It's actually one step before. I'll show you something just now, but the mail protection, so whether it's Mimecast or 365, it really is uncovering what the volume of mail and content that you're receiving every single day, the headers of those mails, who's actually understanding, are they legit or not. You've got to think about having some of that in place. Your user is not thinking about that. They're often not going to go and ask themselves that second question. And web URL filtering as well, inform part and parcel of that. To tie a lot of this in, and this is where I really think Seam has come a long way. It was very expensive. Going back a year now, you get paid for massive data charges for storing a lot of this data. We all want to go collect this information and then make sense of it. And where Microsoft or other, maybe the Splunks of the world have become quite expensive, is that they're asking you now to pay for that storage. And I think we've got a great option solution here with Seam really, which is per user based billing, and really we focus on not charging you for all the data, but rather put a price to a per user model, which makes it a lot easier to adopt, understand. The billing is monthly and is extremely good in the sense that it's no longer traditional Seam. We're dealing with next generation Seam, which is really looking at behavior. So your staff that are flight risk, and just one quick example I want to share with you. If you had a staff member that was resigning, so it noticed that their account was disabled, so you went into AD, you disabled your user, it would flag that. They went and made this so that user moved documents to their Gmail, it would flag that again and put the two together and say, well, this person's a flight risk. What data is leaving the organization? And we've noticed that they are no longer active on the network. So just that type of thinking is what the system will do. And it's obviously not just there, there's a ton of that. But that's what we want to do, is understand the behavior of users and what's not normal. Okay, and it obviously ties all of these things in together. So in my summary, and then I'm done, is adopt 20% of the basics well, or manage 20% of the basics well, and you'll address 80% of the risk. So again, this slide is not talking about everything you can do, it's just have this in place and what is not on here that you're not doing, and take advantage of that. Okay, so invest in the right technology, control access to your data, keep it secure, and measure staff that use it. I think if you can just do those 4 things, I think you're on the right track as well. Okay, I've just listed some basic products that we've seen absolute value over the last 10 years. They really are committed technologies, and really you've seen a lot of positive feedback from customers that really have adopted this type of technology as well. So I think just in short, those are some names. And my last slide, use technology that you trust, and more importantly, trust those people that manage your technology. And I think that you can rely on First Technology for the majority of that. It's absolutely what we do. You are our business, and we hold you on forever. So I think that's it. Thank you very much, guys, and back to you, Patrick.